Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. To His holy prophet. Noble Drew Ali. Islam. To be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speeches while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And if the temple is not right, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, these are the instructions from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds, that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest. The ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam, I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now, by the same people on our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme they can to disqualify me, so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the last few years. Islam. Just wanted to put a little plug out there. Northgate Imports, so you see with the shirt right here. Northgate Imports, specializing in African shea butter, black soap, organic soaps, body oils, incense, international jewelry, and apparel. Northgate Imports, 669-666-3206. 669-666-3206. So get at the family. So You can get up to date with your Northgate gear. What we wanted to do today was there was a few not even a few, there was more than a few questions that we got from Tuesday's class that we didn't get to answer. So we just wanted to touch on some of those. See how many of these we could get through. Study questions on warrants. Black walls over there somewhere? Oh, probably still. Islam, can one be arrested on a search warrant? For arrest warrants, is it a justice, judge, or magistrate who signs it along with the signature of complainant on an affidavit? And how does this information lead one act in Canaanland, meaning are the U.S. legalism identity? How does this information lead one in Canaanland, I guess, to act, meaning are the U.S. legalism identical to Canada Corporation and will work the same way? You got warrant?
Yeah.
Get a warrant.
So, warrant, noun. So this is after the warrant definition. That's a verb. I'm gonna start with the noun definition. One, a writ or precept from a competent authority in pursuance of law, directing the doing of an act, and addressed to an officer or person competent to do the act, and affording him protection from damage if he does it. People versus Wood. 2, particularly a writ or precept issued by a magistrate, justice, or other competent authority, addressed to a sheriff, constable, or other officer, requiring him to arrest the body of a person therein named and bring him before the magistrate or court to answer or to be examined touching some offense which he is charged with having committed.
Bring that on the second one again.
So particularly a writ or precept issued by a magistrate, justice, or other competent authority, addressed to a sheriff, constable, or other officer, requiring him to arrest the body of a person therein named and bring him before the magistrate or court to answer or to be examined touching some offense which he is charged with having committed.
Is search warrant in there?
So there's bench warrants, which is in a different section, death warrant, landlord warrant of arrest. So a search warrant isn't here. Let's check under S.
Is that more? So, we'll just address the
Search warrant.
U.S. legalism.
And even legalese.
Yeah, is that one. When we look at the jurisdictional claim that we are making as morgues, it's directly tied to the claims that our ancient foremothers and forefathers made. Now, we know that the Constitution is for United States of America. Right? United States of America. United States of America includes South, Central, and North. So the Constitution for the United States of America applies to South, Central, and North. Right? 2, we have Article 11 of the Declaration of Independence that stated that Canada acceded to everything in the Union. So because Canada acceded to everything in the Union, and Canada's in North America, then quote unquote the so-called legalese of the U.S would apply to here as well. The issue that we have is that people keep going to the legalese when the supreme law of the land is the Constitution. So as soon as we get Moors starting to talk about does this law apply, does that law not apply, does stuff that they do over here, could they do that same stuff over here, and things like that, you know that they've more than likely gone outside the bounds of the Constitution. And now they're falling into jurisdictions that are just arbitrarily there, have no power. They're falling into acts, statutes, codes, ordinances, or whatever like that have nothing to do with the organic jurisdiction, right? So if they say I want to search, they should have a warrant. Like just automatically. And the only way that they search without a warrant is if you give them jurisdiction. Other than that, they're not searching. How do we give them jurisdiction? We give them jurisdiction by having licenses. We give them jurisdiction by having fiat. We give them jurisdiction by having some card or envelope or whatever like that in the name of something else that has nothing to do with you. Why is it there? I don't know. If you're making a claim of jurisdiction, there shouldn't be other jurisdictions mixing with your jurisdiction that you're making a claim about. So if they say they're going to issue a warrant. Warrant is directing somebody of competent authority, namely magistrate, judge, or officer, to do a certain act. And that act that has to be done must be done by the sheriff, constable, or whoever else that has authority to do that. As soon as we get to questioning, do they have authority to do certain things? Can they do this? Can they do that? Automatically, that displays that our mentality is not that we're judicial. Because majority of people who say that they're Moors, you have a nationality. If you have a nationality and you're in your own land, then you're the judge, jury, and executioner. Even though we know that it's not a perfect world and it doesn't really run like that, but our mentality has to be that it's a perfect world and that's how it runs. Sure. Because that's the only jurisdiction. So whenever they start bringing up these things like we have a warrant and we have this and we have that, we're gonna use our authority to do whatever. Right there, they're admitting, letting you know that they're mercenaries.